does Hideo Kojima get his ideas? In this podcast, we take a deep dive into his brain and shed light on his creative process. Hideo Kojima presents Brain Structure.
はい、こんにちは、小島秀夫です。ポッドキャストプログラム、Hideo Kojima Presents、Brain Structure.
Hello, I'm Hideo Kojima, here with the podcast program, Hideo Kojima Presents Brain Structure. Here with me is my partner for this episode.
Brain's here. I'm looking forward to talking with you today.
Yes, it's been a while.
It certainly has. Thank you for having me again. The sound studio is great, by the way.
今日はですね、コジプロ
Today we're celebrating the new Kojima production studio.
Congratulations.
コジプロの
Thank you. So this is Kojima Productions' in-house sound studio, and this is our first commemorative recording.
The sound quality in your voice, it's so much better.
そんなことないでしょ。
I'm sure that's not true.
But this facility really is amazing.
もうちょいほんまはね。
I wanted to make it a little more specialized, but we didn't have the budget. Like, we couldn't make a complete Foley studio.
You wanted a Foley studio?
まあ、フォーリーのスタジオを作るとフォーリーアーティストがいる
Well,
ので。
to make a Foley studio, you need a Foley artist. But we don't staff anybody like that, so we couldn't. Ideally, I wanted to be able to do everything in the studio. That's the best use of time in terms of productivity.
I see. So right now, we're in the recording studio?
これアフレコ。
This is the recording studio.
What other rooms do you have here?
スキャンとか、あと YouTube のスタジオとか。
We have a scan room, a studio for recording like YouTube videos, and a green room for artists and talents.
A Hollywood-style green room.
あれごと式なんですか
Is it Hollywood style? Honestly, I don't think we needed to make those mirrors so tall. Why do they go all the way up? There aren't any 3-meter tall people.
True, but they did seem like mirrors that actresses would use. It feels so Hollywood-esque.
まあ、気持ちの問題なんで。
Well, it's a thought that counts, I guess. People may not use them, but I want them to feel cared for when they're here.
You really get that feeling in the green room. So today is our first recording in the new studio. For today's episode, I heard that we are going to be focusing on a particular artist. Who would that be?
はい。エンニオ・モリコーネさん。
Yes, we will be talking about Ennio Morricone today. Unfortunately, he passed away, but I wanted to feature him because the documentary film, Ennio, the Maestro, is going to be released in Japan. I believe it's already playing overseas, but in Japan, it will be released in January.
It will be released on January 13th, which is a day after this podcast is aired. But of course, it depends on when you are listening to the podcast, so it's probably releasing soon or has already been released.
この、映画はですね、ジョゼッペ・トリナトーレさんが
This movie was directed by Giuseppe Tornatore, and actually a book of conversations between Tornatore and Morricone was published too. Do Books published Japanese translated version.
They talked to Morricone when he was still alive then.
そうですね、はい。この映画もそうですけど。
Yes, exactly. I think everyone should check it out, along with the documentary too, of course. Everyone loved Morricone. I took it really hard when he passed away.
I think that many of our listeners are already familiar with him, but let me briefly introduce Morricone. He started working as a film music composer in the early 60s. Some of his most popular works include the worldwide hit A Fistful of Dollars version 2, which we'll be discussing later. Also, the main theme song of Cinema Paradiso. Additionally, he also has ties with Japan and worked on things like the historical taiga drama Musashi.
まあ、日本でも人気ですから。
He is popular in Japan too.
Yes, he is. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2020 at the age of 91.
はい、残念でしたけど。
Yes, it was very sad. I really want everyone to watch this documentary. It will make Morricone fans bawl their eyes out. People who don't know about Morricone should also watch it. You'll be like, he wrote this song? And there will at least be like 10 songs that everyone knows, even if you aren't familiar with him. I want everyone to watch it. You'll see that he started music when he was a child, and he used to play the trumpet. Then he got into musical arrangements and film music and later went on to Hollywood.
So you were able to understand his life story.
そうですね、それを
Yes. And Tornatore pieces everything together from his perspective, so it's a really good movie.
There are many famous people on the cast list too, like Clint Eastwood, for example.
そうですそうです。
Yes, that's right.
まあタランティーノとか。
There's Quentin Tarantino and also Pier Paolo Pasolini, Dario Argento, Bernardo Bertolucci, and Hans Zimmer too. With Hans Zimmer, you'll probably notice elements of Morricone at the core of his music. You can tell when you listen to Morricone's songs. One of the things I find really interesting about Morricone's time is that one composer will be responsible for making the score for the entire movie.
Do you mean in Morricone's prime?
前世とかその時代。
More so during that time period in general, rather than just Morricone in his prime. With film music, one person composed and directed the music to match the movie. But that takes a lot of time. And once visual effects were implemented, they had to make music with no visuals yet because they couldn't wait around for editing to be completed before the music. It becomes impossible for one person to do it all. And so that's when Hans Zimmer invented the concept of creating with a team and digitalized the process before doing live recordings. So Morricone, who changed the film music industry, influenced Hans Zimmer, who in turn changed the industry himself. So Hans' testimony is very interesting.
Interesting. So he talks about that in the film?
そういうですね。あとまあ
Yes, he does. And various other musicians make appearances as well.
That's right. Pat Metheny, too. Mr. Kojima, when did you first encounter Morricone's work?
テレビでマカロニウエスタン
On TV. Do you know what spaghetti western is?
Yes, I do.
黒沢さんの用心棒をモチーフに
Well, Akira Kurosawa's film, Yojimbo, became an inspiration for the movie A Fistful of Dollars. And I had watched some Western films before, but I was the perfect age at the time to become obsessed with these spaghetti westerns, which were shot in Italy but made to look like it wasn't. So my heroes were actors like Clint Eastwood, Franco Nero, and Lee Van Cleef, and I fell in love with Morricone's music, which was used in those films.
You really got into the music right away?
これはすぐ掘りますね。多分
Yes, I did. The people who appear in this film, they're all a bit unique. Morricone uses all sorts of sound like the whistling and the weird guitar sounds. And he incorporates that into melodious music that I think really appeal to Japanese people. Everyone got their start from here, including people like Tarantino.
All the spaghetti westerns.
そうですね。
Yes, exactly. And I think now would be a good time to listen to a bit of music.
Okay, on this Spotify podcast, premium members can listen to the songs in full, while free members can listen to 30 seconds of the song. If you want to hear the full song, please join as a premium member.
はい。まず荒野の用心棒。
Yes, let's start with the song A Fistful of Dollars, version 2. Again, this movie used Kurosawa's Yojimbo as a motif. It has Clint Eastwood in it. When you hear that whistling, you'll recognize it. After that, we'll listen to For a Few Dollars More. This one is really fun. I think everyone will recognize it as soon as they hear it. Everyone knows these two songs. Let's take a listen.
I can fight みたいな。
If you take a step back and think about it, it doesn't sound like it really has anything to do with Western.
いやいや、
But without this music, I don't think those movies would have become so popular worldwide. The soundtrack sold like crazy at the time.
Incredible. When you listen to it now, it seems natural that they added this music to that scene, but the fact that they went in with it is amazing.
モリコーネってタイプライターの音を
Morricone worked on contemporary music and did new stuff like using typewriter sounds in his music too. I mean, His melodies are wonderful and really catchy.
I see.
でこの日本は
Even people who don't really like movies may have seen these two films. After For a Few Dollars More came, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Personally, I think this is the best one out of all spaghetti western films. People who aren't familiar with any spaghetti westerns should start by watching The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
They should start with that?
これですね。
Yes, and if they don't like it, well, I don't think there is anybody who wouldn't like it. They spent a lot on the budget for it. Anyways, after that, you should watch Once Upon a Time in the West starring Charles Bronson as the lead. This movie is also fantastic, and the music at the beginning is especially great. There are these men waiting to ambush Charles Bronson's character at the train station. There are buzzing sounds from flies, the wind, and other environmental noises. It's not music, but the use of these sounds are really effective. It's a scene that uses sound in a crazy way. But today, we're not listening to that. Rather, we're going to listen to the ending song. It's called Once Upon a Time in the West, Final. Please enjoy.
こういう曲はモリコーネ得意なんですよね。
These kinds of songs were Morricone's specialty, using female vocals in sort of an opera-like fashion. I don't really know how to put it. He really embodied film music as a whole. He changed the film music industry alongside changing music itself. Movies and music existed separately, but he made them into one entity. That's why I want to emulate him and combine film and video games into one.
Morricone and his work is one of your origins? Your starting point?
ちょっと普通じゃないですよ、僕の彼。
Well, it's really quite abnormal what I feel for Morricone. He has many fans, but it almost goes beyond just being a fan. He's like our master. That's the level he's at. Morricone started in Italy and ended up working on big titles in Hollywood too. But he did a lot of B movies.
He worked on whatever he could get his hands on?
どんどんやってます。
He did whatever he could. I was going to talk about this a bit later, but yeah, so even though he worked on some big Hollywood hits, he had never gotten an Academy Award. And then Tarantino showed up and brought him back into the business. Morricone won an honorary award at first, but he ultimately received an official Academy Award for his work on a Tarantino film. So I really think Tarantino did great work there. And Morricone actually had a music master. At the time though, film music wasn't very highly thought of. It was the same as when I started making games. So he was never really acknowledged by his master. But he continued to immerse himself in the film music industry. And he wanted to win an Academy Award but couldn't for the longest time. And eventually, he won, and people recognized him all around the world.
The Times finally caught up?
はい。で、僕もだから
Yes, in my case, there was a time when people doubted the legitimacy of the industry. But finally, my work has started to become acknowledged. So I feel like my life is following a similar path to Morricone's, especially after having watched the documentary. It made me cry. And although it's said that Morricone wasn't acknowledged, thanks to him and his work, many creators have been born from his influence, and those creators brought Morricone back into the limelight. That's why the story is so beautiful, and the documentary too. This is an Italian movie, so they use some Dario Argento songs that I like. That music is really like sound effects. It doesn't have a melody. He worked with a band on some experimental music and whatnot. And let's not forget the film, Sacco and Vanzetti, which I really like.
これ実はさ、メタルギアソリッドで何回か使ってるんです。
I referenced it a lot in Metal Gear Solid. Snake and Otacon were really similar to Sacco and Vanzetti. So I was going to make it so that in the end, since these two become fugitives, they are made to stand trial. I was considering an ending like that, but everyone told me to stop because they didn't like it. But I really wanted to use that song in a scene like that. At the time, I had Harry Gregson Williams arrange a song from Sacco and Vanzetti and use that as the ending for Metal Gear Solid 4.
You did?
で、その後 MGS5 の
And for the opening of Metal Gear Solid 5, Ground Zeroes, I used the original version by Joan Baez because I thought it was the best to use the original. I think Metal Gear fans will have heard this before, but let's listen. Sacco and Vanzetti features two songs by Joan Baez. The other song is really good too, but this is a song about triumph and victory. The Roman numeral V for 5 and MGS5 also stands for victory, so it's a bit of wordplay.
I see. So the ending of 4 connects to the opening of 5.
はい。この曲大好きなんですよ、子供の時。
Yes, I love this song. I listened to it when I was a kid and even recorded it off the radio.
Radio recordings, so nostalgic.
でね、これ本当のこと言うと、
But to be honest, I had forgotten about this song for a while. And when I was making Metal Gear 4, I went to Tower Records and they were playing the song covered by another artist. And that's when it brought back memories. I was like, I listened to this song a long time ago. So I looked for the CD, bought it, and realized I wanted to put it into the game. It was fate that we reunited.
And coincidentally, right when you were making the game too.
はい。で、まあ彼、
Yes. And well, Morricone worked on a lot of soundtracks, like around 500 or so.
500? That's unbelievable.
で、B 級、A 級。
He worked on hit movies, B movies, science fiction, occult films, and so on and so forth. There's this Italian-American animal thriller film called Orca. The song from that is amazing too. I own the soundtrack. We're not going to play that today though.
That's too bad.
The movie wasn't great, but the music sure was.
サントラは全部ある。
I've collected all his soundtracks.
That's great.
で、僕、エクソシストって
Also, the scariest movie in the whole world for me is The Exorcist. I've only ever watched it once. But I was able to watch Exorcist 2 multiple times because it's not scary at all. John Berman directed it and Morricone provided the music. A beautiful melody plays while Linda Blair fights off locusts.
全然怖い。
It's really not scary.
The music doesn't make it scary?
音楽がね、まあ、
Well, in the first movie, the song was Tubular Bells, composed by Mike Oldfield. But the second one was done by Morricone, and he created a song with a really emotional melody. And it's not scary, so I was able to watch Exorcist 2 many times.
I see. That just shows how music really changes your impression of something.
で、まあ、日本でも、
In Japan too, Morricone did the music for Masuo Ikeda's movie, Dedicato alla Mare Egeo, which translates to Dedicate to the Aegean Sea. Morricone's song for that is really nice. Oh, and the movie The Thing by John Carpenter, who I really like. Morricone worked on that too. The whole time is just like,
ドンドン、ドゥンドゥン。
Oh, it's not a song?
no, it's just the bass part and it goes,
ドンドン、ドン、それだけなんですよ。
I thought that was really cool.
The choices he made were really interesting. When he took on a job, he made music with beautiful melodies, but also sound effect-like music as well.
いや、まあ、音色。
Yes, and his choice of timbre and melody lines are amazing. He really was a man of many talents, and he was a fast worker too.
I mean, 500 film scores. You would have to work hard to get all that done. Why not play another song?
で、またセルジオ・
Okay,
レオネさん。
yes. This is when Sergio Leone called him back, this time for Once Upon a Time in America. You know this one, right? The one that goes,
ペペペペー、ペペペペペーってやつはね、
yes, the movie with Robert De Niro. But when they play that,
ペペペペかけたらかっこ悪いんですよ。
it just doesn't seem cool.
Oh, really?
このデボラのテーマ
So instead, let's listen to Deborah's theme.
もう泣けますよね、これだけでね。
Just the song alone can make you cry. You don't even need the visuals. This is similar to the style of Cinema Paradiso.
True, and even so, he didn't get an Academy Award. Perhaps he was too far ahead of his time.
どうなんですかね、まあイタリア人だからっていうのは
I don't even know. Maybe being Italian played a big part in that.
Ah, yes, well, compared to now, the Academy Awards were much more America-centric.
でまあ有名なミッション
Yes, but I mean he was famous for his works and stuff like The Mission and The Untouchables. Everybody knows those songs. He was nominated many times but couldn't win. He was always very conscious of that, and I think his master was probably not very fond of film music. Even so, Morricone decided to pursue that path. And he worked on Hollywood films and was nominated many times, but just could not win. I think he was always conflicted about that. So I'm sure he wanted to be acknowledged for it, especially by his master. And then Tarantino came along.
Yes, he did.
彼の曲を使い
Tarantino used Morricone's music in Inglourious Bastards. And that was well received, and in 2007, he got an honorary award at the Academy Awards. And then after that, Tarantino recruited him again for The Hateful Eight, and that's when he finally won his first competitive Academy Award for Best Original Score.
So it was his first true award, not just an honorary award. He was already over 80 years old at the time. That was in 2015. So then his work came to be recognized, but I think it still comes down to the film Cinema Paradiso.
そうですね
Yes, I agree. All the songs in that are masterpieces. There aren't many soundtracks where all the songs in it are winners.
You can listen to just the soundtrack on its own.
まあこれもその
Yes, and at the time, Tornatore was not well known. So, I'm surprised Morricone took on the job. That's what makes Morricone so amazing.
It's probably thanks to having worked on a lot of B movies that he was able to have these connections.
でちょっと心折れたのか
Yes, and this was right around the time he was back in Italy for a bit after perhaps feeling a little discouraged. And then he got the offer from Tornatore. I don't know the details, but the documentary showed that Morricone felt really good while working on this film.
I see.
でそれがあるからあの曲ですよね
And because of that, we have that song from this film. He continued to have a good relationship with Tornatore after that, so they worked on many movies together. Morricone did the music for most of his films. I love The Legend of 1900. Everyone should buy that soundtrack.
Yes, please buy it. Or rather, listen to it on Spotify.
あそうだスポティアあると思う
Oh yes, I think it is on Spotify. There are many we couldn't play for you today, but please check them out. Like Orca and Exorcist 2. It's not scary, I promise.
It's beautiful,
何をしとんねんっていうくらい美しいですから
It's unbelievably beautiful.
even though it's for a scary movie.
いやもう全然怖いです
It's not scary at all. At the end, the locusts come to attack, and that saint-like music plays and Linda Blair waves her arms and the locusts die. Anyways, back to Cinema Paradiso. All the songs are masterpieces, but especially the ending song, Love Theme. This is a theme song for the end of the movie, when the main character receives a film reel and he sets it up at the movie theater, watches it alone, and cries.
That was Cinema Paradiso Love Theme.
はい他にも名曲揃い
Yes, there are so many famous songs from that movie. With a beautiful soundtrack like this, It doesn't matter what the film is. It can go with anything.
じゃあと思いますけど
It doesn't matter what the film is because the music will make everything okay.
僕もね
Yeah, I wanted to ask him to work on game music, but unfortunately that dream didn't come true.
But there are many people who have been influenced by Morricone's philosophy and will continue to carry on his legacy, including yourself, Mr. Kojima.
まあ間違いなく
Well, he certainly opened doors for future generations in the film music industry.
Well, we talked a lot about Morricone today, but let's not forget the movie. The documentary is titled Ennio, and Mr. Kojima's comment is included on the official website. Let me read the comment. Morricone was a great maestro who was called to the film industry, epitomized loneliness in his compositions, resisted opposition, and inspired many followers. You will be moved to tears when watching his life story. If he was the personification of film music, then this documentary is a timeless soundtrack of his performance and the melody of his life. There will never be another composer like Morricone.
ちょっとねもう彼みたいな人出てこない
There really won't be another person like him, epitomizing loneliness in his compositions. I think that's what it comes down to. I mean, his wife was his biggest supporter, but there was a lot of backlash at first, with people not understanding his decision to work on film music. And yet, he continued to resist, and many people listened to his work, and he gained many followers.
Without him, film music may have been something composers did just on the side. It may have remained a rather low-status occupation.
それだけじゃないですね
And it's not just that. His music inspired people to become creators, including people like movie directors. So it wasn't just about the music. His existence encouraged young people out in the world. There aren't many people with that ability.
Very true. He influenced people in many fields, not just composers. He influenced you too, right, Mr. Kojima? Are there any scenes in particular that left an impression on you? I think there may be quite a few.
いやもうちょっと自分に重ねますよねやっぱり
Well, I really feel like our stories overlap. Nowadays, people praise the game industry, but when I started, it was sort of looked down upon. I didn't even tell people I was making games. And so I feel my perspective is very similar to Morricone's. And seeing how he continued on, even amongst that hardship, I can see myself in him.
In other words, you'll continue to create games having inherited Morricone's way of life?
映画音楽
Uh-huh. Yes.
In Japan, this documentary will start on January 13th, 2023. For those listening to the podcast on the day of its release, that is tomorrow. For those listening a bit later, it's already out. Please go watch it in theaters.
はい本もあります
Yes, and there's a book too. The movie is a bit long, but please watch it.
It's a long movie.
はいこれたまらんと思いますね
Yes, but you will definitely be hooked.
You can find more details on the official website for the film. Find it by searching for the title, Ennio.
ということで早くもエンディングのお時間
It's about time to wrap up now. Today we've discussed the master composer Morricone. Wait, I messed up.
違うわ
That's my line.
早くもお時間となりました
It's time to wrap up.
Yes, today we talked about Mr. Ennio Morricone and his way of life. I was surprised to learn just how much of a role he played in your path to becoming a creator.
そうですまあだから僕
Yes, and so I think I'll keep at it until I'm 91 years old as well.
Yes, most definitely. Continue on making things forever and ever.
ね
With games, though, well, music is just so powerful. When you hear a melody, you can recall certain memories. It makes me want to make music. Lately, it's all I've been thinking about. But making music is something that I can't do at all. So I've been thinking about how I can go about doing that.
Are there any Morricone philosophies in Death Stranding 2?
ありますありますけど、ね、
Yes, there are. I can't compose my own music, so I have to have musicians' cooperation, though.
So when you give directions for the music, do you ask for a little bit of Morricone in the mix?
ですね音響効果の一種なんで
Well, I think of music as part of the acoustics. Sound effects and music, they both have to be optimized. If you force a song in somewhere, it will ruin everything.
I see.
最適なんですけど
It has to be optimized, but it must also stand alone as great soundtrack so you can enjoy it both ways. Sometimes you buy the soundtrack and it's not so great.
Yes, it works only because it's part of the film.
これもうちょっと
Yeah, and you're like, I can't listen anymore. I think the Morricone philosophy is to make music that can be seen as music alone, appreciated separately from the film and something that can stand on its own. So in a game, I want there to be music that can stand alone and away from the game and be passed down to the next generation. That's the ideal.
Like after you hear sounds or music from a game, suddenly you are flooded with the memories of playing the game or of particular scenes.
場面とかその人の人生あの時こうやった
Yeah, of scenes or moments in that person's life, what they were doing at the time and stuff like that. After some time, centuries into the future, I think it's fine for just the music to live on. I don't think games will even be playable. The systems will be different. But music, that comes in through your ears.
It'll stay the same.
変わらないと
Yes, it'll stay the same.
And there we have it. As always, we are waiting for messages from you, the listeners. If you have a message for Mr. Kojima, thoughts on the program, themes you want us to discuss, guests you'd like us to interview, please write in. The link to the message form can be found in the Spotify episode description. Please send us a lot of messages.
はいということで、
Yes, please do. We'll see you again on the next episode of Hideo Kojima Presents Brain Structure.
さようなら
Hideo Kojima Presents Brain Structure is a production by Spotify Studios in association with Kojima Productions and Fam Inc. Brains, Kayleen Falls. Narrator, Owen Maki. Music, Silent Poets. Visual design, Meiji Kuro. Producer, Hiro Furuki. Director, Kohei Takizawa. Executive producer at Spotify, Asami Sekine. Special thanks to Kojima Productions, Ayako Terashima, Masafumi Chiba, Miki Suga, and Aki Saito. Hosted by Hideo Kojima.
How did you like this week's episode about Ennio Morricone, the master of film soundtracks? Hideo sure seemed like he had fun talking about Mr. Morricone, didn't he? I was able to hear the love and respect he has for the genius composer. Check out the movie if you're hooked from this episode. Next week is a Brain Structure special. Highlights of the past episodes, the guests, and fun moments from the show. Maybe we'll ask him if there's going to be a season 2 of Brain Structure, so don't miss it.